This tutorial will show you how to make these cute, adorable balls that any baby will love. You will need about 2 balls of yarn, a loom of any size, a purple hook, and scissors. To begin, make a slip knot using your yarn and place it on the central knob. Simply create a zigzag pattern going back and forth between each peg around the entire loom. This should create a strange star-looking pattern. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place the yarn on the outside of the loom and knit off each peg that has another set of yarn on it. For example, this peg has yarn on it, but then the next peg doesn't, so I'm going to skip that peg and then knit off the next one. Skip this one and then knit off the next one. This is what it should look like so far, and what I'm just going to do is take the loops and push them down to the bottom of the peg. Now I'm going to continue and E-wrap each peg around the entire loom using the back to front to back method. Now I'm just going to simply knit off each peg. Now for the next row, I'm going to go ahead and purl each stitch. If you'd like to see a video that more in depth covers purl stitches, there's a video link below in the description box. This is what it looks like so far, and I'm just simply going to take the loops and push them down to the bottom of the loom. I'm going to continue to E-wrap the next row. Then I'm just going to simply knit over each peg. If you can't already tell, I'm just going back and forth with the pattern of knitting, purling, and so forth. To demonstrate how the drawstring cast on works, I'm going to show you by pulling on the strand of the yarn at the bottom. You can see how the yarn all cinches up and creates this neat ornate pattern. Now I'm just going to continue to knit until I have anywhere from 15 to 17 rows on my actual loom, depending on how big it is. For smaller looms, you'll want to only do about 12 rows, but for bigger ones such as this, I'm going to do up to 17. Now I'm simply trimming my yarn, and like the purl stitch, I'm going to take my yarn under the loop, so let me show you. So I'm using my purple hook and I'm putting the yarn under the loop, pulling it through the loop, and then taking the loop off of the peg. I'm going to repeat this with every peg until all of the loops are off of the loom. Now I'm just doing the last few stitches and taking them off the loom. Now that my ball is off the loom, I'll be able to stuff it and put the finishing touches on it. I'm just going to now take my yarn and pull it through that last loop. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of the back strands that I started with and make sure it's cinched up really tight and then tie 2 knots with it. This will ensure that the fiber fill doesn't fall out and the knitting project stays put. Then I'm simply going to just trim off the edge. To stuff my ball, I'm just going to take portions of fiber fill, rip them, and then place them in the ball. I'm going to mold the ball as I go, creating the desired shape, and then slightly drawstring or cinch up, I should say, the ball as I go, creating the ball-like shape. I'm just continuing this until there's enough fiber fill in there that the ball has a definite shape but is still pliable. Now I'm just going to cinch up the ball totally, and then I'm going to make 2 knots just like I did with the other side. I'm also going to trim off the edge of the leftover yarn, and that's what it looks like. So what I did for this ball was I used the flower loom, which is a 12 peg loom, and after I cast it on, I only did rows of knitting. So instead of doing a row of knitting and then a row of purling and then a row of knitting and then purling, I did all knitting. For this ball, I used the blue 24 peg loom and I cast it on, and then every row after that I purled. So instead of knitting and purling and knitting and purling, I just purled, and I also added tassels. These balls were both used the same pattern of the knit purl method, but they were used during using different looms. The left one is with the child's 24 peg loom and the right one is a 12 peg loom. To add tassels, simply cut a small strand of yarn and then fold it in half. Thread your needle by inserting the purple hook into the plastic needle. Slide the loop onto the plastic purple hook and shimmy it through the plastic needle. Now I'm just going to pull it through so it looks like that. Taking the bottom of one of your balls, insert the plastic needle through the round circle at the very base of the ball, and just pull it through enough so that you can take the needle off of the loop. Then I'm just going to insert my fingers into the loop and pull the edges through the loop. I'm going to continue this with several more tassels until I've gone all the way around the edge or the base of the ball and covered it in tassels. So like I said, with each different tassel, I'm just holding the edges of it with my fingers and then inserting 2 fingers into the loops like shown and pulling through. You want to be careful with the yarn that you use for these tassels, and you want to make sure that when you definitely attach it, you attach it strong, because if you attach these too loosely, they can be a major choking hazard to children, so just be very careful. Now I'm just trimming off the edges of the tassels so they're not so long and out of the way, and that's what it looks like. Thank you for watching. Bye!